And a very warm greetings from DELNET Developing Library Network, New Delhi, and Galgotia's University, Greater Noida. Distinguished and esteemed luminary invited guests, Mrs. Barbara Lison, President, International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions, IFLA, and the chief guest of today's program, Mrs. Seema Ramprasad, President, Special Libraries Association, SLA USA, and Senior Business Research and Service Manager, British Library, London, UK, and the guest of honor, Shri K. Jayakumar, President, DELNET, the Chair, Dr. Debal C. Kar, Dean and University Librarian, Galgotia University, Greater Noida, Dr. S.S. Murthy, Vice President, DELNET, Dr. P.R. Goswami, Treasurer, the GB members, the officials of Galgotia's University, the heads of institutions, eminent librarians, library experts, library and information science professionals, HODs, and faculty members of various departments of library and information science, Department of Computer Science and IT, officials of various leading publishers, digital content providers, researchers, scholars, students, media officials, DELNET staff officials here at its New Delhi head office and also its offices at Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune. Ladies and gentlemen, I, Sangeeta Kaul, Director DELNET, on behalf of DELNET Developing Library Network and Galgotia's University, Greater Noida, extends a very warm, hearty welcome to all of you for joining us in person here at DELNET New Delhi and also online from various parts of India and many other countries, including Bangladesh, Bhutan, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Korea, Nigeria, Philippines, Saudi Arabia, Sri Lanka, and UAE, to today's momentous program celebrating global friendship, strengthening connections, collaborations, and competencies, which has been made possible because of the immense support and cooperation extended by our most esteemed celebrated personalities from the world of libraries, Mrs. Barbara Lison and Mrs. Seema Ramprasad, who have very graciously acceded to our request, for which we remain ever grateful to them. Thank you so very much indeed for making it a very, very special day for each one of us. Thank you so very much. It is a moment of great honor and profound privilege to have with us today the global leader of libraries, the champion of libraries, Mrs. Barbara Lison, President IFLA, an iconic global library leader who is leading IFLA, the voice of the libraries, with her dynamic vision and impeccable dedication to contribute towards transforming, empowering, and inspiring the libraries globally. On behalf of DELNET, Galgotia's University, and the entire library and information science fraternity in India, and all our attendees from India and different parts of the world, we extend a very hearty welcome to you, madam. We remain ever grateful to you for your very gracious, highly inspiring, and intellectual presence with us today. We would like to welcome our distinguished chief guest with a shawl and a bouquet of flowers, expressing our enormous respect, grateful thanks, and warm gratitude for making this day a very special, cherished day for all of us. May I request Shri K. Jayakumar sir to kindly welcome our chief guest. In welcoming now the guest of honor of today's program, Mrs. Seema Ramprasad, President, Special Libraries Association, SLA USA, and Senior Business Research and Service Manager, British Library, London, UK. We would like to express our very warm, sincere thanks to Mrs. Seema for accommodating to our request. Your presence today with us is truly inspiring. We would like to welcome our guest with a shawl and a bouquet of flowers, and I may have a pleasure of requesting Dr. P.R. Goswami, sir, the Treasurer at DELNET, to kindly do so. Very much. Dean and University Librarian, Galgotias University, Greater Noida, and we express our sincere thanks to Galgotias University, Greater Noida, for collaborating with DELNET in organizing today's prestigious program. We would like to welcome Dr. Debul with a bouquet of flowers. May I have a pleasure of requesting Dr. Nageshwar Rao, Director DesiDoc, on behalf of DELNET and Galgotias University, to kindly present a bouquet of flowers to Dr. Debul Kar. Have a profound privilege and pleasure in welcoming the chair, Shri K. Jayakumarji, the President DELNET, under whose dynamic vision and leadership DELNET is scaling to greater heights. May I have a pleasure of presenting a bouquet of flowers to you, sir. Resource Sharing Library Network, whose journey started more than 30 years ago as a city library network, which has now emerged as the single largest library network in South Asia, with nearly 7,800 institutions as its members spread across the entire country and many other countries. It is working with a missionary zeal to network and empower the libraries and inspiring the library professionals by providing its vast spectrum of library resources and services in a highly cost-effective and affordable manner. DELNET remains highly committed to strengthen the connections, collaborations, and competencies among the libraries, LIS professionals, and library users. I firmly believe in the fact that it is not my user, my library user, or your library user. It is a strong belief and commitment of serving our users, which will take the global librarianship to a next envisioned level and will transform the libraries from building collections to making connections and serving the global users community. We are much honored and privileged to inform you all that DELNET has joined as an institutional member of IFLA last month. And it's a profound privilege for us to have our Honorable President of IFLA with us today. I would now like to to kindly deliver the opening address. May I request you, Dr. Debul?
Good morning. Respected Ms. Barbara Lison, IFLA President, Senior Library Director, Public Library, Germany, Ms. Sima Prasad, President, Special Library Association, USA, and Senior Business Research and Service Manager, British Library, London, UK. Sri Vijay Kumar Ji, IS, Minister of Culture, Government of India, Chief Secretary, Government of Kerala, founding Vice Chancellor of Malayalam University, Kerala. Sangeeta Kal, Director DELNET, Dr. P.R. Goswami, Dr. Nobi Hassan, Dr. Nageshwar Rao, and distinguished scholars, my professional colleagues and friends. Good morning to all of you. I'm happy that DELNET jointly organizing this program with Galgotias University. Great opportunity to meet our great leaders, President of IFLA, Ms. Barbara Lison, and President of Special Library Association, SLA, Ms. Simaram Prasad, and DELNET has taken this initiative for this program. Thanks DELNET for these initiatives, especially Sangeeta Kaul. We are very fortunate to have with us Dr. Barbara Lison, IFLA President, and Professor, President, Special Library Association. Thank you very much, you both, ma'am. IFLA is a leading international body representing the interest of the library and information services and their users. It is the global voice of the library and the information profession and libraries representing the interest of the profession and working to improve the services worldwide. IFLA benefit from a strong membership, a vibrant professional community, and close collaboration with partners. Activities of IFLA are advocating for libraries, powering sustainable development, inspiring and enhancing professional practice, library map of the world, global vision, enabling and connecting libraries, professional development, capacity building, and networking opportunities, and many more. IFLA welcomes your interest in joining for international community. So please join IFLA to inspiring and enhancing professional practice, enabling and connecting libraries to professional development and capacity building and enhancing networking opportunities, powering sustainable development and bring out your leadership quality to the world library professionals. And join and take part of the IFLA activities, take leadership opportunities, and you do not require becoming a member to involve in IFLA activities. You can take leadership by joining regional division, IFLA board, different educational and subject sections, and becoming a member of section steering committee is a great way to get involved with the IFLA activities. Steering committee steer the work of the unit and organize sessions at the annual WLIC, World Library and Information Congress. In the IFLA World Library Information Congress and step outside your professional bubble, look beyond your horizons and extend your network and international world librarianships. It's for your joining. You will find you are not alone as you explore new areas, learn from engaging speakers, and discover solutions to challenges facing by the profession by attending WLIC. You will widen your perspective and what is possible and connect with peers in distinct countries. WIC regularly has thousands of participants from more than 130 countries, providing for an outstanding diversity and voices and viewpoints. Benefits of attending WLC many, but some of them are connecting with professionals at all levels who are interested in the same topics, same subject you are. Expanding the network of colleagues to which you can reach out in the future. Establishing friendship that cross borders and continents. Bringing back state of the ideas to your workplace from the world leadership. Sharing what you have learned with your work colleagues or in implementing new services to benefit of the community you serve. Be part of the global discussion and realizing that we face similar challenges and can make change happen together. Ideas and inspiration of your advocacy for libraries from your own workplace to the global level. Activating yourself. Many find that attending WLC renew their motivation and opens new possibilities for your career. If you attend a physically congress, you will also have a emerging experience of exploring a city and country that you have never been and learning from the librarians as they showcase the best libraries in the country to the global library field. A full day can be set aside for library tools which provide a unique opportunity to look, listen, learn, compare, contrast, re-evaluate your own library or workplace. It also offers an international trade exhibitions where you can spend time exploring everything from new databases and publishing offers to the latest in scanners and library automations. Library suppliers are happy to demonstrate their solutions, discuss your needs or library situation. We also wish to say something about SLA. SLA is another leading international body representing the interest of the libraries and library professionals. The Special Libraries Association, SLA, is an international professional association for library and information professionals working in business, government, law, finance, non-profit, and academic organizations and institutions. Why SLA? For communities. Connect with the members of your geographical region and other geographical region and same discipline and with special interest group. Education opportunities for professional development, leadership program, certificate program, leadership symposium, and annual conference to stay competitive, expand your knowledge, learn skills that are critical to job satisfaction and career success. Working with your peers and interacting with your fellow information professional is crucial to your career enhancement and development. Build your developing leadership, marketing, and technical skills by taking volunteering opportunities like SLA board, SLA communities. Many people from India, they are joined SLA as the leaders. You can see Nobi, you can see me, you can see PK Jain. There are many people are leaders in SLA now and contributing to the professions, contributing to the world professionals by different way. So join SLA. There are many library professionals in India who are presently engaged with the IFLA or SLA and reached higher leadership position in their professional career. They flourish in their career. Do not wish to say more. Do not wish to between you and the two great leaders of the world of library professionals. Welcome you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Devu. Much awaited moment has finally arrived, for which we all have been so anxiously waiting for. It is a profound honor to request our honorable chief guest, Mrs. Barbara Lison, President, International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions, IFLA, to kindly deliver the chief guest address. A most renowned personality of her global stature does not really require any formal introduction, and no intro can ever be sufficient to highlight entirely the magnitude of extraordinary work that Madam has accomplished in her long-standing professional career. I will, however, make a very humble attempt. I'm much pleased to inform you that Mrs. Barbara Lison, the President IFLA, has been, for past more than 30 years, has been working as a director of Public Library System of Bremen, one of the largest public library system in Germany. She possesses university degrees in Slavonic studies, history, and educational theory. Besides her duties in library, Mrs. Barbara has been actively advocating for libraries on national and international levels. She has held several offices in different library associations, having served as a president of the German Library Association, DBW, from 2016 to 2019, and as a president of Bibliothek Information Deutschland, BID, the National Umbrella Organization of German Library and Information Associations from 2006 to 2010, and Vice President from 2016 to 2019. Madam has also held leadership positions in the European Bureau for Libraries, Archives, and Documentation Associations, including Executive Committee member and Vice President between 1997 and 2018. Mrs. Barbara has been a member of IFLA's governing board from 2011 to 2015, held the position of the treasurer from 2017 to 2019, and IFLA president-elect 2019-2021, and currently the renowned IFLA president for the term 2021 and 2023. An expert and a leader on any aspect of management of libraries, especially innovation, HRM, customer orientation, and change management and advocacy. It's a profound honor and privilege for me now to request you, Madam, to kindly enlighten us with your words of wisdom.
What shall I say? I'm overwhelmed by this wonderful hospitality here in this country. You know, it's my first time to be in India. Of course, I was thinking it will be great, but I couldn't expect how great it really is and how great you all are. And so the hospitality here, the beauties of the country, the kindness of your colleague, of my colleagues, and I'm really overwhelmed, and I'm so touched. Thank you very much for having me here and having me invited here. It is a strong program which we have. We had 2 days in Galgotias University with Dr. Debal and the colleagues. Some of the colleagues are here already, and it is now a wonderful day here in DELNET, and I'm so impressed about DELNET. Actually, I must admit, I was not knowing the broad influence DELNET has in India. It is, as I know, it is more than 8,000, almost 8,000 libraries that are part of DELNET, members of DELNET. And therefore, of course, I'm very happy that DELNET joined IFLA on the 6th of March as member number 1053. Now you would say, oh, member 1053, especially in a country like your country, what does that mean, 1053? What is that? Is that much? Is that nothing? I want to tell you that this is a lot, because behind these members of now altogether, we have 1,500 members, associations, institutions, also like DELNET consortia, and individual members. Behind these members, there are thousands, 100,000 of librarians, 100,000, maybe 100,000 libraries already, and in every library there are so many people working. So 10,153 does mean a lot of librarians, especially when you think that there is 8,000, almost 8,000 members here in DELNET. Imagine what that means. So the small numbers sometimes have big backgrounds like this. So thank you very much, Sanjita Kaul. I'm very happy that we got into contact, and I had the honor to be a partner with you for some projects, this project today as well. And I thank Dr. Sri Jayakumar for giving me the present. Thank you very much. And Dr. Debal, of course, who invited me to Galgotias University. And he is a champion of IFLA. You have might heard it, because the promotion he was doing for IFLA, I said, wow, we should hire him for promoting IFLA to anybody in the world. that's really very impressive. And thank you so much. Perhaps you have already the forms for membership with you, and and IFLA. No, I'm joking, of course. So this is a very special moment for me. I tell you, because I already know you are here you are the distinguished colleagues and dear colleagues here in the room. And I heard that there is more than almost 2,000 colleagues are joining us remotely. So hello also to the colleagues who are joining us remotely and of course here in the room. My task today is to show you how libraries can drive progress on the SDGs. Can anybody see? Oh, it's there. Oh, yes. Okay. Sorry, I didn't see. Yes, that's fine. That's fine. So Dr. Debal said a lot about IFLA already, but I want to repeat it because I cannot repeat it enough. IFLA is the global voice of library. IFLA speaks for the libraries. And so this is not only speaks about the libraries, but IFLA speaks also for the libraries. And that means, you see, IFLA is not a government organization. We are independent, like DELNET. DELNET is also independent, and we are representing the interests of the libraries worldwide, the interests of the librarians worldwide, and for me, this is very important, the interests of the users of the libraries, because we are not just there for ourselves. We are here in any country. We are here for the users of the libraries, for those who are already users, and even more for those who could use our services and would become users. So it is very important that we always think across the walls of our libraries, across the walls of our servers, if I may say so, look into the people who are needing our services. And IFLA looks, of course, into this as well. And as any organization, I know DELNET as well, IFLA has core values. The core values are related to the Declaration of the Human Rights of the United Nations. And the main thing is to deliver access to information, also to support free expression of speech and free expression of thoughts. Both of these main fields are the core values to IFLA. And of course, the libraries should work for these values, and IFLA, of course, as well. Oops. And now to the Sustainable Development Goals. You know, the Sustainable Development Goals are also called Agenda 2030, UN Agenda 2030. Well, we now are in 2023. The goals were endorsed in 2015. So we are half time. We have half time. And we have to look what has been done. And even more, we have to look what are we going to do to achieve the goals. That is the libraries, that is everybody here, that is everybody who's watching this transmission outside, and this is everywhere. We have to look at this. And IFLA, the goals were endorsed by the United Nations in 2015, and look, IFLA already took action in 2012. Because when the United Nations endorse a paper, you can imagine this is not done in one day or even in 1 month. It takes ages sometimes. I'm sure you're all following other decisions of the United Nations as well. It takes ages. So when IFLA understood and knew about this new approach of the United Nations, we just thought, well, this is something for the libraries and we have to bring in the libraries, and we did that already in 2012. So here they are. They are all the goals, and they are really relevant for the achievement of equitable conditions of access for information. I always say, and IFLA says, without access to information, these goals cannot be achieved. You cannot act if you don't have the appropriate and the right information, and the libraries are part of this process to deliver this information. We have to know and to be aware that we are not the only ones. We are not the only ones anymore. This is the more important to do this. And look at this little circle down to the right. These are, when you see this circle, because this circle is used in many places, when you see these circles in these colors, then you know there is something related to the Sustainable Development Goals. Can I? Oh yes. So look at the numbers. What do we see? We would say, well, why are the libraries important for life below water, number 14? So what would the libraries first of all think? What would be the most important of these 17 goals? Of course, number 4, quality education. Of course, quality education is, we are working for this for a long time already. But as well, of course, good health and well-being. This is something where the libraries have, of course, their tasks to do as well. No poverty. This is, in any country, we now have a division of wealthy people and less wealthy people, sometimes even poor people, and libraries have to bridge these gaps that are developing. They are not only existing, but they are developing, and they are even becoming more intense. And libraries should be, or should contribute to bridging the gaps. Of course. Just saw some months ago, I saw statistics saying how many people have access to information via smartphones, via online delivery. Okay, in some countries it's 80%. Even in Germany, we have 84 million inhabitants now. Not so much, I don't know. More than 5% are not online. They don't have access. They don't want, perhaps, but they don't have access to the internet. But when you look in other countries where it is very cost intensive to get the information to the internet, to have a smartphone, to have the connectivity, and then look at the male proportion who has this access and the female proportion, you will see, I'm happy that here are so many male colleagues, you will see that the male population has much more access to internet than the female. So the libraries can bridge that gap as well. Number 8, what is it? I'm sorry, decent work and economic growth. Decent work and economic growth. You all have made your studies, you all have your profession now. There are unfortunately a lot of people who are struggling with having the background, the information. The libraries are an essential service point and essential supporter to have this. Next one is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. We are supporting the economic growth as well. We are supporting infrastructure in many ways. We ourselves are a supporting infrastructure. Reduced inequalities. Well, this is a bit combined with no poverty, also, of course, with the gender equality. So wherever society in our world, inequalities, the libraries are an essential supporter for the way to get rid of these inequalities and to create equality in many ways which are important for our society. Sustainability and communities. So, this world, the libraries are a center, a cultural center in the countries, in the local communities. The libraries like DELNET here, this is, I think, this position of DELNET here is also part of creating something in a part of the city which is, well, it's not the city center, but it is creating a small center of, attention, a small center of creativity. Next one is responsible consumption and production. I have seen, when I was at Galgothias University, I have seen a lot of posters who already, also in the library, who already show that, let the people know where, watch out, don't produce too much waste or waste at all. Don't especially with plastics, I have seen that. So you see, this is, and the plastic again is related to number 14, life below water, because we all know how difficult it is to clean the water, and there are these huge big plastic the word the big plastic in especially in the Pacific Ocean. So next one, life on land, that is everything which is related to green, to agriculture, the knowledge which we can give for people to work for this, to support this, our task. And of course, justice and strong institutions like DELNET, but we also have to help people to find justice if they are treated not justly, if they are not equally. So this is also a very important point. Partnerships for the goals. This is the best example of partnerships for the goals that we have. Now you might ask, well, where are the libraries? Struggling is working for this. Where are the libraries? Well, IFLA is advocating for libraries. Dr. de Waal has already presented this. This is the main thing. IFLA is powering sustainable development goals. So the libraries through the SDGs is to ensure access to information, also to safeguard cultural heritage. This is also related to many of the goals, and hence general literacy, not only literacy to read, but also literacy to live. Our life is full of different literacies which we have to cope with. And of course, hence equitable access to information and communication technology. You can remember there are 5 P's which Sustainable Development Goals are oriented. People, the welfare of all people. Planet, that's the protection of the ecosystem and the earth. Prosperity, we need prosperity, is the sustained economic and technological growth. Peace, well, you know, peace is so important, and partnership, like this partnership. So these are not separated focuses. These focuses intertwined, and therefore the SDGs need a holistic thinking. I just presented the SDGs, but they are intertwined. Remember I said no poverty is also inequality and all this. So IFLA has been working on this since 2012, and so all these issues which I just presented were issues that were brought forward by IFLA to the United Nations. And you can see here what is the sense for the libraries to do this. What should the libraries support this? Behind all these bullet points, you can put actions, 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 actions. And if you have too much time, just go to the website and look for the Lyon Declaration on Access to Information and Development. This is a very important declaration already endorsed in 2014 by the IFLA General Assembly, saying what are the main values of IFLA of libraries, not IFLA, when it becomes to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal. And with this document paper, we went to the United Nations, and the former president, you see there, the Donna Schieder, she was president then, and she was speaking at the United Nations about libraries and how they can support the development goals. And IFLA developed IAP, that's the International Advocacy Program, because we think, the libraries are in 2 sides in this whole thing. On the one hand side, the libraries should make people about the goals aware about measures that can be taken to achieve the goals. This is one thing. The other thing is it's an object of advocacy. So the libraries could go to their aldermen and the cities, they could go to the ministers and to ministries saying, look, what these goals are intending, we're doing this already for a long time. We did not talk about it, but now we connect our activities with the Sustainable Development Goals. And we are. And now, because you're waiting for the libraries, aren't you? Now, goal 1610. And because the 17 goals have sub goals. So when you are asked, where are the libraries in the 17 development goals? Say goal 1610, because ensure public access to information and protect fundamental freedoms in accordance with national and international agreements. That's our goal. Here are the libraries. You see, no other institution is named in these sustainable development goals, but this is our goal. This is the libraries, and we have to refer to that and work for this. And of course, when you have goals, you always want to look, do we achieve the goals? And to achieve a goal, you use, or to check whether you have achieved the goal, you use indicator. And there is an indicator for 1610 that sounds existence and implementation of a national law or and constitutional guarantee on the right to information. What better could this be expressed in this sentence when it comes to libraries? So remember 1610 and this indicator. Yes. What is IFLA doing? So right away, we are, of course, publishing on the website, also in print. At that time in print, it was 2015, you know, a lot of information. For instance, you can all get that on our website still. We have a big repository where you can get it. Access and opportunity for all. How libraries can contribute to the United Nations 2030 agenda with a lot of good examples. So now when you go there, you find good examples from all over the world, and you can then say, oh, well, this is a good example. Maybe I can use that also for my institution and for my library. And just a glimpse to IFLA, how IFLA is working on this. Well, we have a strategy, Dr. de Waal has mentioned it as well. The strategy is called Inspire, Connect, Engage, and Enable. And we have 4 directions, 4 strategic directions there. Strengthen, inspire and enhance professional practice, connect and empower the field, and optimize the organization. So strategic direction number 1 means we listen to and understand the priorities of the whole field, your priorities as well, and amplify the message through advocating for libraries and their values on a global and regional level. This is what IFLA does. And you see the key initiatives. Number 1, show the power of libraries in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. This is very important. So you see, we have a newsletter. We are having a lot of information related to the Sustainable Development Goals in our website. The importance of libraries, we have to, for advocacy, we have to show the importance of libraries. And also, of course, we have to show the participation and contribution that we give. Phases to the SDG engagement. First of all, in the libraries, build your own awareness. With your staff, with everyone who is working in your life, let them know and work with them together on the Sustainable Development Goals in your own libraries. Next one, labeling and promoting. So when you are a SDG library, if I may say so, then get out of your walls and tell people, promote the SDGs, tell them what are the SDGs, why are they important, and how can you work with them, and find partners to collaborate. Number 3, transforming. So that are a federator, bringing together other players who might also achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and use the SDG as a starting point for your action planning. So on the one hand side, look at your actions. How could they be related to the SDGs? And on the other hand, just look, can I start that is related to the SDGs? And number 4, engaging, go up, do advocacy yourself in your country, in your social environment, in your political environment, because there is still a lack of knowledge. In any country that I know, there is still a lack of knowledge. And there are big countries in the world where, let's say, 3-4 years ago, no librarian or almost no librarian was aware of the Sustainable Development Goals, even 2 or 3 years after the start. You can find when you check the keyword Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs, you find a lot. And take action. This is so important. What you now see is all from the IFLA website. You can find good examples, best practice examples, also examples from India taking action. You see, we have the library map of the world. Dr. Debal has mentioned it. And India also contributes already to the SDG stories with best practice examples. This is very important. The mobile library increases rural students' engagement by providing access to technology and learning resources. This is one of the best practice examples which everyone sees when they go to the library map of the world. Or the next one, library resources and services increase output of institutions, urbanization research. Urbanization, again, we talked about cities. What do libraries have with cities to do? And you can see here the relevant SDGs where the project is related to. Or one-person library enhanced communication, learning and creativity among children in lockdown. That was the lockdown time. I'm sure there is a lot of others. So if you want to contribute, go to your library association. They will provide your best practice examples so it can be shown on the library map of the world. So my conclusions: encourage everyone to work through the phases and that we are ready to advocate for the libraries and ready to advocate for the Sustainable Development Goals. We are trying to support you all the time through many other measures which we are taking. You will see them on the IFLA website. If you go there, we have a monthly newsletter, as I said. And we want an integrated approach for libraries that are achieving the SDGs. So let's be inspired, engaged, enabled, and most of all, also connected. And thank you for your attention.
So very much indeed, ma'am. We remain ever grateful to you for sharing extraordinary, excellent, empowering, enriching, invigorating, inspiring, and visionary thoughts with us. We remain ever grateful to you. No words can adequately express how grateful we remain for your gracious and inspiring presence with us today. And we must also at the same time say that, yes, you have truly inspired us, kept us engaged and enabled. And yes, we are feeling so strong that we are able to establish and connect with you. Thank you so very much, ma'am, for giving us enormous moments to cherish for long and also to cherish forever. Remain much, much grateful. Thank you very much indeed. I have an immense pleasure now in requesting our guest of honor, Mrs. Seema Ramprasad, the President, Special Libraries Association, SLA USA, and Senior Business Research and Service Manager, British Library, London, UK. I have a pleasure in introducing Ms. Seema Ramprasad, who is originally from Trinidad and Tobago, went to London to study information and communication. She worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers in their Business Information Center and the Intelligence Unit at the Greater London Authority. Mrs. Seema is currently working at the British Library's Business and IP Center for startups and growing businesses, which has now helped more than 10,000 people in the UK and also internationally. Mrs. Seema Ramprasad is an advocate for library and information services and recognizes the profession as it develops, whereby industries and sector benefits from the skills, competencies, and network of specialized libraries and information professionals. The CIMA uses new technologies for collaborating information and knowledge across subject areas and borders. The CIMA also serves on the SLA Board of Directors as a president for 2023 and volunteers in her local communities. It's a profound privilege and honor in requesting the Sister Ram Prasad. And let me also just tell you that she does have the roots from India. So it's a profound honor and pleasure in requesting you, Mrs. Seema Ram Prasad, to kindly deliver the guest of honor address.
Namaste. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. I think it's afternoon. It is more than just a conference and a meeting to me. I am from Trinidad and Tobago. My ancestors were from India. My great-grandparents, my grandparents were born in Trinidad in the Caribbean. It means more than anything else to actually be here. They held on to their heritage. They held on to their culture in the Caribbean. It's easy to forget that this was probably like 150 years ago. So, it's great that we could still see some of the practices being developed by the Indian diaspora in the Caribbean, but also in North America when I travel. And living in London, I also have friends who are from Mauritius and other parts of the world. So we are proud of our Indian heritage. It's a rich heritage, an ancient culture. And the best thing about growing up in the Caribbean is that we were taught from the beginning who was there before, the indigenous cultures of the Caribbean. So again, the Amerindians and the Tianos and the people who inhabit the land that we were there before us as indentured laborers from India. So I have this very global perspective. It's a small, tiny island in the Caribbean, but it's a mighty island because we respect the cultures and the people who were there before us, but also the people who've joined our new land. So thank you very much for being the honor of speaking to you today from my heritage and from my ancestors who have gone past. I know they'll be very proud for me to say this to you today and to acknowledge the roots that we have and the connection that goes a long, long way into our culture and our creativity and our identity. So thank you very much for having me here today. Thank you for the presence. Thank you for the hospitality, for Dr. Debar Kar, Nabi, Dr. PK Jain, and everyone, Dr. Goswami. You've all been very kind and welcoming, and I couldn't have a better welcome than anyone else in terms of like the long journey that I know over the years I've happened with my heritage, but also myself. So thank you very much. I'm going to talk to you today a bit about working at the British Library and also me as an information professional. Obviously, I don't know many librarians who said they started off wanting to be a librarian. You kind of get into it by accident, and then you end up loving the work that you do and the communities that you serve and the people that you meet and the connections that you make. And you never get bored being a library and information professional. You're always on the cusp of trailblazing technology, as well as dealing with your communities and people face to face. So for me, it's not something I'm going to leave behind. It's going to be something that I'm going to carry on until I retire. So, it's a great profession, and I would always advocate for libraries wherever I am. I acknowledge that Barbara has actually given you a great speech on our global sustainable goals. And, that's the best way in terms of working together globally in the things that we have to achieve as an organization and also as professionals in what we look for. So the theme today I wanted to cover is preparing me for the SLA conference in Detroit in May next month, which is the theme of which we've jointly going to be doing with the Medical Libraries Association and also SLA. So the theme for that conference is looking back, forging ahead. And I thought that's actually something quite good to do because I've come with many hats on today. I'm not wearing a hat, an invisible hat, but I'm actually thinking about my role as a professional, but also working at the British Library where I'm currently based for the last 10 years, but also representing SLA. So it's a mixture of what we do with the British Library, and then I'll come on to SLA, and after that you can meet with me afterwards and ask me all those questions that you want to discuss with me. So looking back, this is the presentation for DELNET, and I'm Seema as introduced, and I'll carry on to the next. So the British Library, Liz Jolly was with us at Galgotias University. Liz Jolly is actually the chief librarian, and she did an amazing presentation about the general work of the British Library at the conference last week. But the British Library has a long history, as well as a great connection with India because of the collection, as well as the archive, also with the British being here in the UK. We have a collection that was based in the British Museum. So and that collection, we had our own building built in 1997. It opened. It took 25 years to build the new building in the center of London. As long as DELNET, it's a work of passion, and also the specification was like very high, very detailed. They had to represent a national library where we didn't have a physical national library. So this was opened in 1997. We also are a legal deposit library. So anything published in the UK, we're obliged to get a copy held at the British Library. We do have collections, obviously, that are historical, but we also have collections that are international. Obviously, we have books from all over the world, or items, not even books, sound, bones, and everything that are held at the British Library. And that area of London, there's like a large percentage of intellectual organization. As you were saying here at DELNET, you have some supporting organizations that deals with information and or institutional knowledge. So we in the center of London, we're based in what is now called the Knowledge Quarter. We have Google headquarters for the UK. Just a couple minutes from us. We all have Meta. We also have lots of royal institutions that are there. This is what the British Library model looks like. So it's the shape of a ship, because the gentleman who actually designed it was actually in the Navy. So it physically really does look like a ship from one angle if you haven't visited. And I'm very happy to welcome anyone who would like to visit us at the British Library. So the architecture at the British Library was Colin St. John. He was in the Navy, and it was his life's work. It took 25 years to build the library, and he was really proud of what he had achieved at the time. And the brick, it's actually red brick, which matches the building next door, which is St. Pancras. And the British Library was incorporated in the Act in 1972, and obviously started being the British Library in 1973. But the library has been collecting materials as part of the British Museum by the gentleman called Anthony Panizzi. He was the first person to actually collect materials for the British Library. He was actually an Italian who, there was some political aspects in Italy that he left exiled in the UK, but he, as working for the British Museum, he started collecting material. So he was like our first inspirational librarian in the 1800s who started collecting material for us at the British Library. There's a bust of him, and also Barbara was telling me she always thinks of him as a quote that he always, what he did, the Panizzi sort of way of doing things. So you can find out more about Panizzi on Wikipedia. And there are founders, obviously, with the British Library. There's a history of colonialism, and also that means that some of our founders were actually had the wealth to actually collect materials, but also at the end of their time, they actually donated it to the British Library. So these are the busts of some of the founding members of the British Library collection. We actually have recognized some of the context of colonialism, and we've actually put that into a decolonized aspects of where they came from and why they came from, because some of the actual founders actually had plantations in the Caribbean, which, as you know, it wasn't, slavery and enslavement wasn't very good for some of the people that lived at that time. So we've recognized that. So the main thing about the British Library is research, and this is one of the core competencies I want to remind you. We talk about information, we talk about knowledge, we talk about reference work, inquiries, but a lot of the time we're helping people do their research, and I think we forget that sometimes. So people are coming into the physical spaces as well as the online spaces to do research. And this was one of the great posters we had on our entrances about how we contribute to research support and research in libraries. And this is something that I would always feel passionate about, because, you know, you can have all the information in the world sitting there, all the books sitting there, but research, you know, in terms of academia, in terms of doing innovation, research is still very important, and it's one of the things we encourage at, in the business side where I work in. And as I said, looking back, but also forging ahead, there are strong links with the British Library and India. So we have the Asia and African Studies Reading Room at the British Library. For those of you who don't know the connection or the links that we have specialist materials, we have printed catalogue of Oriental manuscripts, the India office records, private papers held. We have Indian directories and almanacs, Indian Army and Civil Service list, Indian and African study journals, and the print room. So if you want to do research that's connected to some of the collections or information that's outside of India, the British Library does have this Asian Pacific collection. So there is its own room. That's a picture of the own room of the Asian Pacific African Studies Reading Room. One thing that Dr. Debal forgot to mention is that SLA, he's actually made it across 22 regions in Asia, from one in India, and that's spread around the world. So anybody who wants to do this type of research could obviously do this for their countries in the British Library. We also have the India office records at the British Library. And I think this is a picture of one of the forts. I've seen many things about the Mughals before actually coming here from working at the British Library. Obviously, growing up in the Caribbean, we didn't go to that granular level of understanding the Mughal history or some of the Indian history. And I was lucky enough, I joined the British Library in 2012 when there was an exhibition on the Mughal empires, and it made me so aware of the Mughals and their history. And so I'm going to the Taj Mahal on Saturday with Dr. Debal's group from the university who hosted us there. It was amazing history to understand and to see it. I know it's a great heritage, and actually seeing the buildings physically was something that was really unique about this trip, and I really appreciate that. And we also have family history. So we have British, white British gentlemen and men who had their people who was obviously here in India, based in India. They come to do research at the British Library for that heritage. And we also have people from here coming to do research at the British Library. So there's strong links as well with India and the British Library. And what you might not know as yet is that there's a main building in the British Library, but in 2029, we hope to have a new building between us and the Crick Institute, which is this empty piece of land that's actually going to be repurposed, a new building, and there's going to be a family research center. So if you want to do historical research or write stories about this time to make it more known in terms of creativity and the storytelling that goes with these links, with the international links, the family history and research centers will be available then. And you know, as I said, research and storytelling goes hand in hand. So we have a blog. You can actually see this blog, the Asia and African Studies blog. So if you can't physically go into the rooms and visit us at the British Library, you can read our blog and see the stories that the curators have actually created for the Asia and African Studies blog. And there are photographs you can see digitally. There are sound. There's also an endangered archive program. So you can actually hear like rural music, maybe from rural communities that are archived. And there are links as well. Like I went to the British Film Institute, and there was like recordings of people, their sound and their intonations that are held in archives. So if you want to do that sort of scholarly research, we can try and see what's available to you. And there are, I'm actually not talking from a point of view of a curator, but we actually have curators who actually know the content no better than I have. The British Library has 170 million items, and we have different specialists curators who can actually help you with the collection. So do spread the news. These are only some items I've recently shown and looked at. There's this picture of the Kututa Munab Church at Delhi. So these are actually in the collection, and it's held by the British Library. It's a photograph. I don't know the scale or size of it, but obviously these are some items in the collection. And as I said, when I joined the British Library, there was a Mughal exhibition, and this I have a postcard of this picture of a young nobleman enjoying Holi, because we still have Holi in Trinidad. We call it Pagua. I'm not sure if that's the common name for it. No, we say Pagua. Maybe it's a dialect, but Holi, we still celebrate Holi in the Caribbean. And this photograph, when I first saw it, I thought I had to buy a postcard of it. So it sits on my desk at the British Library. So these are just one of many. And it really is insightful and enriching, and heritage-wise, it's amazing. And I always have a business side on my side as well. So there's people who actually have Holi experience in London. The British people who want to experience what Holi like, they have Holi parties where they throw the powder on them. So it is creativity and bringing it right up to the 21st century. And this is some when I joined in October 2012 at the British Library, the Mughal exhibition had just started, and this was one of the parties that we have. This is our foyer. So if you come into the British Library, it's a massive space. So we actually have parties there, or big events. We have a knowledge center as well, which is for conferences. But this is where the Mughal Empire exhibition was on, and there was Indian dancing, Indian food, and various sort of aspects of the exhibitions that we have. We also have, obviously, over the years, exhibitions all the time. We currently have one on animal sounds using the Sound Archive. We recently had one on Alexander the Great, and we had one as well about unfinished business for women and women's rights. So there's always something interesting at the British Library. We do have specialist digital collections. I have already mentioned the Endangered Archives program, but these sort of rare, unique communities and aspects that you need to actually store. And Ethos, you might be interested to know, Ethos is a portal for PhD research, and if available, you can actually access the whole PhD content online. We have a record of it. Obviously, if it's not electronic, it might be stored at the universities, but we do have a searchable browse online record of all doctoral theses awarded by UK higher educational institutions. So that might be interesting to you. We have Sound online, we have digital manuscripts. We have a business and management portal that's free to register if you want to learn about business topics. It's, if you're doing an MBA or business related, the business and management portal is free to access. It needs to be upgraded, but it's on our agenda to be upgraded. We also have a social welfare portal. We have the British Newspaper Archive, and we also have electronic resources. So there's many aspects of the British Library. I'm just overviewing it today for you. And we obviously, those are like online digital special content. The way the British Library is like a ship. You saw the picture of the ship. It's actually divided into different subject areas. So we have Asia Pacific, we have business, we have news, we have social sciences, we have rare books and manuscripts, we have sound, we have maps, we have stamps, we have humanities. So it is very much silo and different subject areas, and also the physical rooms in the British Library is divided up. It does feel like a ship. The middle feels like you're in a grand reception, but the other, you have to go to the different rooms to engage with the different subject areas. So these are just some of them, from contemporary Britain to East Asia to Central Asia. So for those of you who work across the region here, it'll be great if you can actually share that with other people. And for those of you who've ordered items from the British Library, from document supply or interlibrary loan, we have Boston Spa, which is based in Yorkshire. They're not physically based in London. And I think that's specific because I've visited Boston Spa, and it's in the middle of nowhere, and there's sheep around. So they have the space to expand, because one of the reasons why our second site in Boston Spa is probably because of space. Because London, as you know, is quite compact. There's not much space in London. And we talk about machine learning. we talk about using automotive systems. The middle picture is actually the newspaper archive. So that is fully automated, where you can retrieve archive of newspaper using pressing buttons and which shelf, and it's really amazing to look at. It's massive, and it comes at you the newspaper that you've requested. I certainly can't. I could drive a car, but I can't drive that mechanical sort of collection because it's really high tech. And it was open only within the last 10 years or so. So there are, it's in the middle of nowhere with sheep, and there's many buildings in Boston Spa. It's great to go there as a librarian because you have like departments that deals with metadata or procurement or licenses, all the skills and competencies that you would need as a librarian. And the other thing is that we have two sides, but we work as one organization. And one of the main things about the British Library, I was a user before I was a member of staff. I started working in libraries after I graduated in 1994 for commercial organization, the PricewaterhouseCoopers, but we were still ordering articles from them. We were still doing interlibrary loan from the British Library. So now I work at the British Library, and it's amazing to be from the inside, but also knowing from on the outside. And as I said, we do hold things in various formats, from maps. So this is a map of Portugal and Spain. Art is like artwork. Some of the things that we have. There's a fan of a map in Asia. So it could be, it's not necessarily a book, it's not necessarily a journal, but it's it has information in it, and the map, and the political aspects of it. And the one in the middle was actually a show and tell by the lady who actually put the Mughal Empire exhibition together. And these are drawings from India. And look at the flowers and the artwork. It's amazing. I mean, the miniatures that I saw, the Mughal miniatures, actually showed like pigeons and little things. So not just about books, it's about artwork as well and creativity. And these are from centuries ago. And then obviously we have the Sound Archive, and we also have stamps as well as maps. So it's the collection and archivists and all of those skills that complement our work in library and information is really important as well. As I said, the Sound Archive, we have digital now, but we also have LPs and cassettes and various recordings. We have the punk, the punk, I don't know if you know punk, but punk was actually one of the sound exhibitions we have. And these are also held in the British Library. You can actually go and sit and listen to music at the British Library. We do have specialist digital initiatives and scholarships. We have a digital scholarship team who looks at things like crowdsourcing, ChatGPT, artificial intelligence. So in terms of digital scholarship, we also have a department. So if you're interested in digital scholarship and you need to speak to someone within our project teams, I can let you know. We do things like using collections to make apps and games. So and in September, we're going to be doing apps and games because that's a new way of information as well. So the digital research team is really excellent for that. And I work at the British Library's Business and IP Center. It was formed 17 years ago as inspiration from New York, and that in itself has expanded in 17 years. So we have one business center, business hub, where I work at the British Library. But the success of that center in terms of what we produce, we now have 22 across the UK. So they're attached to the city libraries, and we've collaborated with them, where we have the brand, the Business and IP Center brand. People could go there for research, you could go there for expertise, and they could get support to help their businesses grow. So it's an entrepreneurial ecosystem. And again, it relates to Barbara's talk in terms of the global sustainability goals, in terms of empowerment, economic empowerment, and knowledge economy. All of those things contribute to actually the development of our global goals. So this is me as an information professional. Obviously, I was lucky to work at PricewaterhouseCoopers and work for global organizations and being able to think about big business and big issues. But working for micro businesses at the British Library, I had to learn new skills. I had to think about giving one-to-one advice on a business. Luckily, before my time at SLA, I was a trustee for a charity and also their fundraiser and events chair. So I was able to gain skills for businesses and work for like large artistic organization. It was actually for families and children because my children were young at that time. So I've gained skills, business skills that I didn't think I had, but I use those same skills now at my day job but also for SLA in terms of contract management, in terms of strategy, in terms of people engagement. So the skill set as a librarian has had to change over the years to develop all of these other things about the library. And again, I'm happy to be at the British Library because I work in business. I can think about the next trend. We have access to £5 million worth of content that none of the other libraries have, because we are a national library and we have a bigger budget. But we don't spend this £5 million, but the reports are worth £5 million. One market research report can cost £2,000. So we are quite unique on the content that we have. So I'm happy to do the business, but I'm also happy to learn about the culture and creativity of the British Library. And I would always advocate for being a librarian. Yeah, so I've almost finished. So we have international projects, and we have the living knowledge network across the UK for doing work that's linked up across the UK. And the other exhibitions, these are some of the other exhibitions we've had. And the King's Library sits at the heart of the British Library. We also have the Alan Turing Institute, which is for data science and artificial intelligence. They actually physically based at the British Library. So if you're thinking about data science and machine learning and artificial intelligence, it's a great way of actually finding that. So these are some of the cultural events we had at the British Library. This is the Maoris dancing at the British Library in terms of the James Cook's exhibition and what was going on. So very quickly, I'm going to say SLA, I'm here representing SLA as well. We're having our MLA SLA conference next month in Detroit. And this is an image of the Mughal exhibition that we had. I want to give my special thanks to Dr. Debal and all of the Asian community for how they can contribute to our strategic goals. Learn, connect, and advance. These are currently our strategic goals for SLA. And I would hope you would get involved with us or get in touch with me and see how we can make you, use the organization to develop your strategic plan. We have representation in 48 countries. USA the biggest, Canada the next, United Kingdom, which comes under Europe, and India is the 4th largest membership organization that we have. We have retirees to full-time staff to students, we're still very active in what we do. We're here to learn, empower, professionalism, and to hear the diverse perspective of the organization. Last year alone, we had 642 online recordings for things that we did online. We have online demand learning. We had 150 webinars, and we have 160 conferences across the world in 2020. And we are based in community sort of aspects, from events, student outreach, and we have community recordings from like academia to SLA Canada to knowledge management to science and technology. And we're here to connect with each other and to learn from each other to strengthen the network. And oops, oh, I'm going back the wrong way. And learn and let me go back one. So we're here to advance the profession as well, to come together, put our heads together for the best of the profession, the importance of information professionals, employees, and society at large. I'm glad you used the word society. So SLA is here to help us all in our work to collaborate together. DELNET, IFLA, all the other organizations, to make sure we learn, connect, and advance the profession and get value for what we do in highlighting the work of library and information professional. And I must say thanks to some of our recent conferences, such as SLA Asia had in Philippines, they had ICO ASLA 2023. So we're very much connected and we're very much doing things together. This is SLA Europe. This is Hal Kirkwood, who was one of the presidents in 2019. And this is an event I held at the British Library. So this is one of our specific part of where I work. So I offer my space at the British Library for events for SLA. And this is some of the ways that we save cost and help people to do work. So get involved. I hope that if you want to, get other skills and exposure, as Dr. Debal said, learn that international network, take up leadership position, take up volunteering position, be seen out there globally. We will appreciate that. And also you can be a retiree, you can be a full-time employed person or a student. And I recently had a student event in January with 55 students just in the US, but I would love to do one here for India as well, or something tailored specifically for India, with all of these hats that I wear in terms of the British Library or SLA. So thank you so much for the honor of being here today. And I hope to see some of you afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mrs. Seema Ramprasad, for delivering a highly energizing, enriching, insightful, an excellent presentation apprising us all about the British Library resources and services, and also most importantly about the SLA, and giving us a wonderful opportunity to celebrate the global librarianship with your presence here today. Thank you so very much indeed. Thank you, Seema. Thank you. I have an immense pleasure in requesting our Honorable President of DELNET, Shri K. Jayakumarji, to kindly deliver the presidential address. Shri K. Jayakumarji, all of us, are fully being aware he's a man with a multidimensional, renowned personality, as he has made a profound contributions in wide-ranging fields, as he is a well-known administrator, an academician, a poet, a lyrist, a translator, author, and a painter. He has a profound contributions of serving the Indian Administrative Service for nearly 4 decades, served as a Chief Secretary to Government of Kerala and as a Joint Secretary of Ministry of Culture, Government of India. He also served as a founding Vice Chancellor of the Malayalam University and currently serves as the Director of Institute of Management in Government in Thiruvananthapuram. Sir has authored 45 books, including 35 in Malayalam and 10 in English. He has written lyrics for nearly 100 Malayalam films and large number of songs for albums, television, and radio. He has also written and directed a children's film. He has held 17 solo exhibitions in India and abroad. His translations of Tagore, Khalil Gibran, and Rumi are well acclaimed. He has received various awards and recognitions for his outstanding contributions in the world of poetry, public service, and many more. We remain ever grateful to you, sir, for your very prolific contributions to the growth of DELNET and for your immense contributions and support and trust, which remains as a great source of inspiration and strength for each one of us at DELNET. It's a profound privilege now for me to request you, sir, to kindly deliver the presidential address.
Our chief guest, Barbara Lison, and our guest of honor, Seema Ramprasad, Rebel Sikar, Goswami, and distinguished office bearers of Executive Committee of DELNET, our well-wishers and dear friends, and of course, Sangeeta. I should leave you out. At the end of today's deliberations, I'm not an exalted person to contribute anything more than what these two wonderful people have shared with us. They are living in the core sector of the library movement. And whatever they have to tell us is perhaps the most advanced aspects of thinking in the library sector. And that is the relevance of their presentations. I thank you, Barbara and Seema, for sparing your time, being with us, and sort of making this morning very important and very special. Quite, if not enlightened, but enriched. Enlightenment is the next stage. We are quite enriched by the volume of information that you have shared with us. And that information is something which you cannot gather from a book. For example, to be frank, although I am a writer, I'm a columnist, it never occurred to me that libraries are at the core of achieving your SDGs. People are talking about SDGs. Sometimes parrot-like, sometimes hawkish. People are talking about SDGs in different tones and languages. Some people mean it, many people don't mean it, because people think that SDGs and this kind of UN declarations are there for some purpose. Maybe it will be extended, if not 2030, maybe 2040, then people will forget about it. All kinds of things, we are also living in a cynical world. Frankly, I never thought that there is so much of interconnection between SDGs and libraries. Particularly, your presentation placed libraries in the very core of our civilization and at the very core of our development, sustainable development. Days of our technology, without access to library services and information. Now I think I will, without technology and copyright, I'll have to write articles as to how important it is that information services and libraries are brought to the very core of all these things, and without which it is not possible to reach that destination if you really mean it. Putting it differently, if you are not going to give the required importance to library services and information services, that only means that you perhaps are not very serious about achieving these goals. Is it? So for me, it was a very enlightening thing. For me, it is enlightening. For others, it is enriching. You can go back and ruminate over it and get enlightened. That is what I would say. It was a very good eye-opener, Why we never thought about it. Everything should have this library dimension in achieving that goal. And for achieving these goals, resources are out there. You only have to access it. And for accessing it, we are required library professionals. Wonderful. Thank you, Barbara, for giving this wonderful thought. I may or may not acknowledge the copyright, but I will write articles. Sometimes I will acknowledge, sometimes I will. Sangeeta will not accept it because Sangeeta is high on ethics, especially on copyright ethics. In fact, that is one of the core values of DELNET. That is also, I should say. So the DELNET, coming to DELNET, I don't have to add anything more to what both of you have said, but I will take only 2 minutes, 3 minutes to talk about DELNET in this particular context. DELNET has come about, or rather DELNET was established in realization of a vision. A vision of a visionary called Dr. Skelton. He was ahead of times because his vision of DELNET in those days, networking was not a very popular concept in those days. Technology was not as comfortable as it is today. But then even then at that time, he thought about networking of libraries. I think it is far ahead of times, and his vision of an inclusive library, equitable library network, and an ethical network, equitable, ethical. These words had a lot of resonance in the vision of Dr. Cole. And that is how DELNET came about. And the design of this organization is such that it gets contextualized very appropriately as the information landscape changes. Nobody can foresee how your artificial intelligence is going to reshape our intellectual landscape. We really do not know. Even the architects of artificial intelligence, they themselves are scared whether the artificial intelligence will come and sort of grab them by their neck, by their, or that whatever gizmos, whatever they make it, is go for their jugular. You really don't know. Maybe one wrong networking will ensure that the command is that you kill the creator. See, you can always have an algorithm like that. So we really do not know what is the emerging landscape of information. It is going to be the power of networking is going to quadruple or multiply. We really do not know. And I sort of gratefully recall the great vision of Dr. Cole, because he has created an organization which is resilient. That is it. Resilience is the word. Adaptable to the changing contours of our intellectual landscape. That is what makes DELNET a very relevant organization for today, and I'm sure for tomorrow. Of course, DELNET is a very unique organization that way. And if I may make a claim, there is no other organization like DELNET which offers the services that we offer. Or there is no other organization which is capable of offering better and new services also required for the future. That is what I use the word resilience. We can innovate, we will innovate, and we will, with our foothold very firmly in the core values of this organization, we shall reform ourselves, we shall reshape ourselves, we shall rediscover ourselves to cater to the needs of the emerging needs of society. I don't want to make a big speech, but this uniqueness is our USP, and we will work on this. India, as you know, Barbara and Seema, is a very heterogeneous country. It is not a country, it is a subcontinent. If you superimpose probably Europe on India, I think some of area, most, we can subsume quite a large part of this, the chunk is so big. It is such a heterogeneous country, not only in size, but the heterogeneity, the diversity is so much that to administer this country is very difficult. That is also there. We might talk about the failures of governments and all that, but failure is written there because we are so complex. So in a complex country like India, which speaks in minimum 25 languages, plus 1,000 dialects, and with so much of economic disparities, DELNET has been able to offer service to nearly 7,000 institutions, and they are happy with that. And they are happy with us. And more institutions come to us, we will be happy to welcome them, and they will be happy to receive our service. In the new educational policy that the government of India is pursuing today, I'm sure education is going to receive a big spurt. A lot of private institutions are coming up, private universities are coming up, and there is a lot of emphasis on technology, and I'm sure DELNET will be able to find its newfound relevance in the changing education scenario of India under the new education policy. So this is what we are, and whatever we do, we are guided by these core values about ethics. Particularly, I said about copyright. Sangeeta is extremely touchy about copyright. In certain meetings, we sort of slightly request that kind of a typical Indian attitude. You can dilute a little bit, but not with Sangeeta at the helm of affairs. We sort of carry on that kind of ethical discipline that Dr. Kaul had inbuilt into this organization. And equity. And we charge quite a modest amount as membership fee. And there is no difference between a big organization and a small organization. That sense of equity is a driving ethos of DELNET. And we are very proud about it, happy about it. We made a humble beginning, and today we are a fairly big organization making a mark in the education sector of India. We would like to know more, or rather derive inspiration from other experiments in other parts of the world. Also share with others what we have been doing in a complex country like India. This two-way traffic should be good for us. I think our association, our friendship with this IFLA and SLA should give us more opportunities to know more about others, what others are doing in other parts of the country, in the world, and also giving opportunities for us to share what we are capable of offering to the rest of this world. After all, there are no geographical barriers anymore as far as information flow is concerned. Governments may not like the idea so much, but as a matter of fact, you cannot stop technology from delivering information to people all over the world. And DELNET would like to be a part of that kind of a collaboration. And as the four words you said while concluding your presentation is engaged, enabled, informed, and connected. I think we started this meeting at 11 o'clock, 11:30. We are more connected at 1 o'clock today than we were. We were at 10:30. We at 12:30 or 1 o'clock today, we feel more engaged. We are more enabled. We are more informed, connected, and I'm sure we will still be more and more connected. Thank you very much for listening to us and sharing. Thank you.
Thank you so much indeed, sir, for being there with us, and always, whether today, and you are always the one who shows us the path ahead. So much grateful to you, sir, for being there with us today and for gracing this occasion. Well, before, I would like to now request with the permission of the chair, we may like to have at least another 5 to 10 minutes, 7 to 10 minutes for a question answer session, because we really want to make it as engaging. It has been an engaging day, but we really want to make it more engaging with the participation of each one of you. It's hard to get an occasion wherein we have the most celebrated personalities from the world of global world of libraries, and really want to make the best use of it. Firstly, because we have huge, large number of our online attendees who are there with us on this platform today, firstly would like to request our in-person attendees here. You have been there with us. It's indeed a very, very joyful day for us. It's always so good to connect in person. And we acknowledge the presence of each one of you here. We would like to firstly start off, with our interactions, with our invited speakers, taking the questions from the floor, from in-person attendees here. Floor is open for you. I'm requesting my colleagues, Kushal and Deepak, to ensure, you want to ask any question to our distinguished speakers, floor is entirely yours. So do that as early as possible, because then we would like to give a chance to all our online attendees. Anyone who may like to ask? Yes, we have Dr. Nabi has. Yes, you can give the. Yes, yeah, in the first. Yes, please.
Just a small observation, like in the era of AI and ML, what are you seeing the role of reference library? Going to die the reference librarians, or these tools will add to their knowledge? They will be able to provide better services as far as reference librarians are concerned.
Does that work? No.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, thank you for the question. Reference libraries have been so important. And now, of course, the question is, are they still important? Will they, as you say, die or not? And I would like to amplify this even more to any library. As long as you see the user's needs, as long as you meet the user's needs. And meeting the user's needs also means changing towards the user's needs. Then libraries won't die. And of course, reference libraries neither. I think it is important that any librarian who has learned at their LIS studies, whatever they do, they should be aware that this should be developed towards the users and not towards a scheme which is a scheme and shall not be changed. So I think if reference librarians stay user-oriented, curious about the development that is in the ecosystem around them, then adapt, not just copy, but adapt to that and adapt the development that are outside our libraries into the libraries and make a new service or develop the services to new, which is important for the users. If we are not relevant for the users, we will die. But when we stay relevant for the users, and it's up to us, then we won't die. No library will die, and neither reference libraries.
I request you introduce yourself, because we have number
myself,
of.
Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Sharma, librarian in Rajdhani College, University of Delhi. I have a simple query that is IFLA is doing something, though sustainable growth you have spoke just now. It's a wonderful presentation.
Keep it a little closer.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah. Repeat the question.
Spoke about sustainable growth. It's a wonderful presentation from your side. But just I want to ask you whether IFLA is doing something for the maximum utilization of library. Particularly, we have seen the students, those who are going to schools. When we ask them, can you name your librarian? They don't know. Though they are having class, they are forced to go to class because they have to go to the library in their library period only. But when we speak to the students, those who are in a college or a university, unless until they are library science students or they are a good researcher, they don't know the particularly. The reason I don't know, the footfall or their utility. When I ask them, when I ask many of the students, from the school or somewhere. They are saying, sir, we are going to the library, but we don't have marks. We have to study English, and I will get marks, but that's why I'm supposed to go to my teacher also. So do you feel that there is something that is to be done or introduced, that unless until marks fear is there in the students, they will go and make something maximum utilization? That's fine. Thank you.
You see, when you say, what is IFLA doing? We all must say, what are we doing? Because IFLA has a staff of 15 people, sometimes 13, depending on the project. We are only a focus for the work that is done by you, by the others in the whole world, because we cannot do something in practice. We are just a central point to connect different projects, to connect different ideas. And IFLA has more than 50 working groups, professional working groups, that are related to all the topics in the library world, for different types of libraries, for different contents of the libraries. We just were talking about the document delivery group. So the thing is that IFLA is not working on the topics themselves, but the volunteers who join IFLA in these groups are working on this. So this is the first thing. IFLA can connect these people. IFLA can publish the relevant results of them, but IFLA is not working in the practice. So this is, I think, important to know. Now to your question. So there is several groups who are working on that question, that the libraries might not be accepted anymore by the students. And this is also relevant, I think, also to your question. It's connected, because when they don't see that they are, when the students don't see a relevance for themselves, they don't go there. The students are, in my opinion, I know that from Germany, I think students are the same everywhere in the world. They are ambitious. They want the best what they can get out of it in order to be very well prepared for their own lives. And if they see that somewhere else, they get the best out of it, well, they don't care for the libraries. So the library is not a good which should be cherished on itself. But I think it depends on every librarian, on every library director, but not only on every reference librarian, to show that they are caring for the students' desires and demands. And then I think it is helpful. Of course, you can do public relations, you can have a good website, but also this is very important. And I have to say, it is also important in an online world. The premises of the library are very important. If they are welcoming, if they are telling the students, come in, join us, be happy here, be good here. If you fulfill the different demands of the students, working in a group, having all these carols, for instance, that 3 to 4 to 5 people can work together for a project, having the opportunity to study in silence, having the opportunity to discuss in public. I think this is so important. They should be feeling welcomed. And welcoming is not only, I must say, not only through the people who are there, they are the most important ones. It's also the premises. They want to be welcomed. They want to understand, I'm not sitting just there reading my book, but I have different options and different opportunities for my demands. This is so important. I always say, well, it's the same, not only with research and academic libraries, it's the same with public libraries. See, why should people go? I'm a public librarian. Why should people go to a public library nowadays? Because they also want to interact. Yeah, we in my library, you see in Germany, it's by federal law, it's not allowed that public libraries open on Sunday. Imagine. So we did a project and opened for Sunday. Well, that was a big section, of course, by the parliament and all this. We opened on Sunday, and we asked people, why are you here on Sunday? And they say, then I'm not alone at home. Then I'm not alone at home. Others whom I asked, it was a very critical situation. I asked somebody who didn't want to be filmed in a special project. He said, no, then everybody knows that it is 11 o'clock and I am in the library. Everybody knows that I am unemployed. Because who goes to a library at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock when you are in an age where you should be working? And so I told him, well, you see, you could be on holiday, so that's not the point. And finally, he accepted that he will be filmed and recorded. And after that, he told me, you know, Barbara Lison, that your library is the reason why I get up in the morning, why I take a shower, shave, and leave the house. And this and this is not only because there are books, this is not only because there are information, but there are books, information, people who work for the library, other people who work in the library, and a content of a premises that are welcoming. And I think that's the same for students. Why do they get up in the morning? Why do they take a shower and go to the library? Because they like to go to the library and they see a profit for them. If they don't see the profit, they don't care.
Anyone else may like to? Yes. We have Mr. Prahlad Jadhav. From Mumbai, he has come.
Good afternoon. This is question not to the panel. It is question to all the association.
Prahlad, just introduce yourself.
Yeah, myself Prahlad. I'm working in the Ketan & Company corporate law firm as an associate director in the Department of Library. My question to not to the panel, but everyone who are here, why we can't think sharing the skills. I just want to introduce a concept called secondment. Secondment is very popular in corporate world, where employees of one firm are sending abroad in different countries to gain the skills. So such type of activity should be happen in the library. Nowadays, we are getting the resources access easily because due to open access, due to open education resources. But exchanging the skills exactly physically by going there, learning their practice, it will help LS professional to become more competent. So is there any plan from the IFLA or SLA, whether in future or already they are doing these things?
Would you like to say, yeah, please? Secondment is something, I mean, when I worked at PwC, that was a little bit different because there were accountants and management consultants, and it was a whole program of secondment. And we at the British Library, we recognize that now. As I said, we work in different subject areas, so we have to learn to cross-fertilize. And also when we cross-fertilize within a large organization, you learn to develop new skills in a new department, even if it's someone sitting next to you in another department. You see a different way of doing things, but also learning new skills, new people skills, transferable skills, whilst working in the same organization. But also, if you take that a step further out and you start to work with other organizations, you learn from being in a different environment, engaging differently with different people. And that's exactly what we did at the British Library. As I said, we had one business and IP center in London, and then the success of that business and IP center meant when I joined in 2012, there was only two, one in Newcastle and I think Liverpool. And we had to go out to them and encourage their staff to come to us. And then we share skills and knowledge and collaborate. And then they become aware of what we do. We learn from them. And although we're like the blueprint, we learn from others. And they also help the agenda. So going out and connecting with other library and information services in your own region or in your own local regional area, nationally as well, really helps. So the success of one, it became two, and in about 6 years ago we had 10. So I had to go out and train librarians, and also they came to us, and we told them what we did and give them opportunities to shadow. There's a term called shadowing, where they're learning from us on a particular day. We have a program. They sit with us on the reference desk. They go to our meetings. They go to our workshops. They listen into our webinars. These are all skills that they would pick up if they're not doing it yet. And as I said, I had to learn some of the business skills, although I have a business background. So that element of sharing that knowledge, sharing that expertise, sharing that insight from physically doing it as well as online, because we had to pivot again in 2020 with online. So from 10, it went to 22, as I said. Again, we had a bigger project. I think we got about 16 million pounds to have that project across the England and Glasgow, not so much in Wales. And again, it was that cross fertilization, the shadowing, the sharing of knowledge, the sharing of skill, the sharing of best practice. And you know, you have librarians, as Barbara was saying, we're not very good at advocating. We're not very good at sharing what ourselves. We're very shy and timid. We need to be more about, sharing what we know, exchanging ideas. And that's the whole point of IFLA and SLA, sharing the knowledge and expertise that we have, networking. We put continuous professional development by learning from each other. So this is what we did at the British Library. And we now have actually an online space as well. We use Basecamp for projects, so the 22 libraries connected across the UK. We share insights, we share best practice, even looking at how the pandemic has insights and data analysts. The pandemic has affected retail in the UK. So I found a report and I put it on there and I said, you need to know this in your regional areas so that communities of practice online happens, but also in person. We actually call our secondment sort of program CAKE, collaboration and knowledge exchange, CAKE, CAKE. And that's where the secondment is in that program of sharing with each other.
Thank you very much, Sima. Thank you. Anyone else would like to ask any question from the floor? A quick one, yeah.
If I just may add for IFLA, the main thing for IFLA is, of course, the World Library Information Congress. In former times, and I hope it's getting up again, before the pandemic, we had up to 4,000 participants in these congresses. And of course, that is a very important, Dr. Dewald said it already, that is a very important focal point to meet, to exchange, to find projects and so on. It's very cost intensive because it is a high fee, high registration fee, and of course you have to travel and all this. There are scholarships for this. There are scholarships, so go to the IFLA website and try to find scholarships opportunity. Of course, they are always in a very great demand. There are not so many, but they are in a great demand. And when it comes to Germany, my home country, we have an institution that also offers scholarships, not the travel, but scholarships for, let's say, 2 weeks in Germany for a specific program, for a specific research issue, or also for shadowing some librarians in some libraries. So if you go to BII, just go to BII Deutschland, then you might find something which is in that Bibliothek Information International, BII. That is, yeah, there you can find scholarships. We give scholarships, and actually the scholarships for people coming into Germany are not in such a high demand as the scholarships for German librarians going out. So you might have even more success in finding something, but unfortunately we cannot pay the travel.
Very much, ma'am. Anyone else? A quick question? Two questions. I think we will just go for. This is for my online attendees who are there, nearly 1,000, more than that, they are there. So we would just like to take only 2 questions now in person, and we will make the floor open for our online attendees. Yeah, over to you, Sangeeta.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sangeeta Naran. I'm a medical librarian. So a little bit, I feel like knowing about what is the landscape of medical librarianship in Germany, one time. And second, I guess, as we say about the maker space and the human library. So how much is the advancement in that sense in your library in the landscape, the German landscape? Germany. Okay. And another question was,
That's, I think, sufficient for the time being. Yeah. So, Barbara, a quick reply, I would appreciate.
We have, for Germany, we have central libraries for different topics. For STEM as well, and STEM is M for medicine and mathematics. But we also have a big central library for everything which is related to medicine. That's in Cologne. And they are giving information to the whole of Germany, also outside Germany. It's a big central medical library. The hospitals, big hospitals, sometimes have a library for the staff and for medical issues, but some of them still have a library for the patient. That's not that often anymore. They are really cut down have been cutting down for some time. But the central medical library in Cologne is the main library that supports and delivers a lot of information to the whole of library. And of course, in the faculties, the medical faculties, in the universities where students, of course, study medicine, there is, of course, in every university library, there is a big part for medical studies.
Thank you very much.
I want to comments one thing that twice in the USA I made about the DELNET presentation in about half an hour in SLA in different programs. I also made one presentation about the DELNET in Sri Lanka when I visited Sri Lanka. That also about half an hour presentation. So I do about the DELNET when I go outside. Another thing I wanted to comment for that. Even SLA also there is some award and to travel USA. Science and Technology divisions of SLA gives some award to visit SLA conference to visit USA. And also SLA Asia community. I belong to SLA Asia and SLA Science and Technology both. Both have award facilities and with some money also to visit USA and to attend the conference. Not 100%, but some. So that also I used to announce here.
Thank you very much, Debel. We have been knowing you have been our supporters since the beginning. Whether you convey or not, we take it as a de facto that you are there, and whether we come to know, but we know that you have been a great supporter of DELNET from the very beginning. Thank you very much for your all efforts. Very silently you does, but you really keep on contributing to the profession and also to DELNET, for which we remain grateful. Thank you very much, Debel. Thank you indeed. And yes, please.
Hello, good afternoon. I am Kasturika. I am a retired librarian from the Library of Congress Delhi office. I wanted to contribute my experience to the Indian library setup, and in the rural setup, we have a paucity of free library software. I was recently in a rural area of Uttarakhand to develop a library there, which is managed by donation from various patrons all over from NCR and from Delhi. I would like to know if IFLA and SLA are giving us some free library software on which a library startup can actually start and operate.
Ma'am, with your permission, you can give a global answer to it, but we'll try to give a more a local and a national answer to this. Let me just convey to you, you may be aware that firstly, I'll talk about my organization, DELNET. DELNET, right from the year 1997, I was telling you to Madam a while ago, we have been an organization who has been providing a software called DEL Plus since the year 1997, adhering to Mark 21. You can download a record from Library of Congress from where you work for nearly 4 decades. And that work we did even in 1997, we were able to develop that, where in an LC record, we were able to, download it into that software. And that's a software which is now nearly by 1,000 institutions of ours that's being used, which really allows the libraries to, automate. It has got all modules and everything. Number one, this. Number two, I would also like to make you aware that National Informatics Center, which is a parent organization for the parent organization is MIRTI, Ministry of Electronics and IT, for whom again DELNET has a long time association with NIC. They are providing e-Granthale, and let me just tell you, I really wonder that how this particular village library or panchayat library missed out, because in the state of Uttarakhand, and for that matter entire across India, e-Granthale use in government libraries is a mandatory thing. And especially Uttarakhand government has made it. Even a bigger universities who have been using some other commercial softwares and other things, they all have migrated to e-Granthale. And so would like to mention that we would like to make you aware, means about DELNET as well as NIC. Yes,
it's all a free.
It's provided free. For DELNET, it is like you have to be a member. Okay. In order to do that. And for NIC, yes, if it's a government library, they would definitely, and we really wonder how it got missed out. So we'll be
it's
happy
not
to
a government library, it's a community initiative.
Community library, that's perfectly fine, that can be taken care of.
Thank you so much.
And the community library can join DELNET, and there may be some CSR activities happening, and we'll be happy to do. Now we're requesting our honorable guest to give a global answer to this question. Please, ma'am.
I'm sorry to say the global answer is no. So IFLA is not connected with any library management system provider. They are not working for this. That's a different world. That's a commercial world. Of course, there is freeware, of course, but it is a commercial world, and IFLA is not involved in this. On the other hand, some of them are sponsors for IFLA. Some of the commercial library management system providers are sponsors for IFLA, but IFLA does not promote anything or give anything. I'm so sorry.
Organization like DELNET, we are giving that support for the installation of Koha. So it entirely depends, and there are a lot many solutions, which are available. So locally, to locally, so that's what you have to really think about, and we are there to support. We are there to support. Now we would just like to take this to all our online attendees who are listening to these deliberations, and they are there with us. We are making the floor open for all our online and we'll be more than happy to give you a control and audio control, or you can use a chat box if you want to do. We are making the floor open. I will just go once alphabetically from A to Z. So please kindly, because of paucity of time, we may not be able to have a second round of questions and going back again. So the time starts now for our online attendees. If you are wanting to ask any questions to our distinguished speakers, please kindly raise your digital hand. We would like to get you connected, with them. I'm just sifting through. I have crossed A. So the A is already yes, I could see. Aparna Agale has raised a digital hand, and Aparna, I have unmuted you. Please unmute yourself and wait for 5 seconds. If you're not able to do that, yes, we are connected. Aparna, go ahead.
Hello, ma'am. My question is, hi, I'm a school librarian, Indiranagar Cambridge School in Bangalore. I'm a school librarian. So I would like to know what, actually, I checked the IFLA websites and everything. There was no particular mentioning about the school libraries. Why we are lacking? Because these schools are the foundation of the everything. So I feel that where I can go and what I can find out what should be done by the school librarian, and more attraction for the children, small children, to maintain the discipline and everything. Aspect the librarian perceptions. I'm feeling I did not find out a proper information for the school libraries, and what IFLA can provide special things.
For asking this question. Firstly, let me just offer, we have a special portal being designed for the schools called as an DELRES portal, and we have a large number of nearly more than 30 schools which have already joined. I would be requesting Madam Dr. Barbara to kindly let you make aware, and many of our attendees here who are from the school libraries the kind of a work that IFLA is doing in order to help out the school libraries. May I request you, ma'am?
Yes, you see, as I said that IFLA has more than 50 working groups, professional working groups. One is school libraries. There's a professional working group on school libraries, and they edit and publish several publications on school libraries, also a school library manifesto, where there are some certain schemes. What is a school library? What does a school library need to function very well, and all this. So please go to the IFLA website, go to the sections, and you find the school libraries. You can find that, and they have a special site where you can find the publication. You can find also the webinars they are doing. They are doing a lot of webinars as well. It's a very active section, the school library section, and we are very proud about that. And also the manifestos and the other publications are very, very helpful for school librarians. And as I said in my talk, the Sustainable Development Goal number 4, that is not mainly, but also school libraries.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And I would like to propose, like on behalf of the entire LIS community here in India, that DELNET may like to collaborate with IFLA, especially for having also, besides other programs, for webinars. This is like, you're already doing it, but it is the reach, and we'll be able to reach out to our Indian library professionals. If there can be some kind of a collaborative programs for the various kind of activities, especially the webinars, it's much easier to do. The program is already being broadcasted, but if we become like a kind of some partnership in that, wherein we help out, IFLA also in reaching out, to the Indian LIS community, will be really grateful, ma'am, for that. So that's what we would like to propose, through this platform. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. We would now quickly would like to request Dr. Kanya Kumari. Dr. Kanya Kumari R. Yes, we are connected right now. Dr. Kanya Kumari R. You're right now we are connected. Please kindly ask your question. I'm extremely sorry. We are not able to, though you were connected, but you may perhaps can write your question in the chat box, and we will be happy to take the question from the chat box, because we have Dr. Sandhya Purohit. Dr. Sandhya Purohit, please. I'm compelled to mute you now from here. So now goes the other one, Dr. Santosh Kumar Jha, because of you can understand in the online, even otherwise too, we have to stick to the time. This is for Dr. Santosh Kumar Jha. Dr. Santosh Kumar Jha, could you please unmute yourself? It was because he lowered his digital hand. That means he was trying to see how the feature would work. Maybe perhaps next time he may like to ask a question. It does happen. Out of curiosity, you really want to see that what your icon would do, and perhaps he lowered his hand. Then we have crossed M, inching towards the alphabet N. There are huge, large numbers, and we are just wanting to be sure that no one gets missed out, and no one should miss out the opportunity of. I can see here now we have Mr. Nilesh Patole. Mr. Nilesh Patole, Nilesh, please unmute yourself. Nilesh, it seems you are not able to do it. Let me move on to from N, we are moving to O, MN, O, and yes, we have got Pooja Mane has raised the digital hand. Pooja Mane, Pooja, may I yourself? Pooja. Part and parcel of being in the online, but we really want to ensure that we are giving you the chance to get connected. Mr. Ramesh C. Ramesh, you are online. Please kindly unmute yourself. You have raised your digital hand. It seems you are wanting to ask any question. This is for you, Ramesh. Let me move. Mr. Ravi Ayla Somaila Raju. Mr. R. Ayla Samaila Raju, please forgive me for my pronunciation. Yes, we are connected, Mr. Ravi. There are some of the glitches, but it should not deter our spirits in not asking a question and not to attend the session. So let me just, those of you who may like to place a question quickly in the chat box, you may kindly do so, because we are almost have now crossed the alphabet S. I can see we have Mr. Sridhar Ramamurthy.
Hello.
Connected?
Yeah, ma'am. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Hello.
Yes, we are able to hear
Hello.
you. Go ahead, ask your question.
So, is there any accreditation group for libraries, college libraries, other than NAC? Hello. Is there any accreditation party there only for libraries? College libraries. For college libraries.
Management, you want to know, KM, or?
Yeah, I don't know that any other process, any recommendations how to
college libraries.
Yeah, college or university libraries.
For college libraries.
For all college, they are having NAC accreditation. All this, particularly for NAC, like this. I want to go for library accreditation
Make the
process.
best use of the time of our global experts. The NAC accreditation will take care of it, and we can talk about it, discuss about it. This as our central point of discussions. We can very well can discuss about the conversation with you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Sridhar, for joining us. That's for NAC accreditation. That's, madam, for you to. We just like to mention, as we were telling you about AICT, which is next door to us. So we also have a NAC accreditation. The colleges have to be, they get the accreditation and also the rating from NAC. That is, we are through with this, and I'll just quickly would be now see which are being posted in the chat box. I believe it's not so visible to take because could see. I will just like to, okay, this is a question, ma'am. I would like to request you to, if you can throw some light on this. This is from Hara Rao Mojeda, who is wanting to know, what is the plan of IFLA to connect knowledge through libraries in the countries like India for the rural masses? This is a very quick question, Mr. Hara Rao Mojeda. Requesting, madam, for your inputs on this.
As I just said, IFLA is not working in that practical area. So IFLA tries to enhance the topic, bring the topic onto the table, and then have people in the voluntary groups who work on it. And of course, the rural area in India is also represented through Dr. Debal, who might bring that into the IFLA scope. And then the working groups, for instance, if it is a public library, let's say in the rural area, we have a section for public libraries, and they might also then work on it. And in these sections, you can also try to be co-opted as a member from a special country where you bring in your special interests. So IFLA is the organizer. IFLA is the central point of connecting people with each other, bringing up topics which are relevant. And then IFLA is not working on this anymore, but then the groups should work on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. This is for you, Sima. We have not been able to hear you, so it was right. It's the right time that someone has asked a question about the British Library, and this is from Sheikh Moeddin, who is wanting to know how to collaborate with British Library for our researcher community, and that's a question that we would also like to, ask you, because organization network like DELNET would definitely be wanting to see to it how DELNET can collaborate with British Library, and it's a both ways. wherein we can supplement and can help out for the references which are being asked by your users from there. And yes, definitely at the same time, because it does happen at times that we are looking for a material available in British Library for our Indian users, and how really to build up a very formal kind of collaboration.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, I've been wanting to chip in and say things like in digital literacy and also school librarians. There are some school librarians at SLA. But in terms of to this question, we have an international team at the British Library, and Barbara also knows Marcy, who heads that team. So they deal with the more global networks that you might be interested in, how we can collaborate and work together in some of the bigger projects and bigger research projects that might be available to Indian nationals. There is also an international leaders program, which is a shorter program. I think it's like 2 weeks at the British Library. You have to apply. And we recently did the cohort for this year's international leaders program. But the next one will probably be invitations from January. So if you do want to have 2 weeks experience in this international leaders program, that applications will probably be open in next January 2024. So that the international teams heads up the collaborations between different regions. And last year we had people from Canada, South America, Africa who came for that program. And there are other bigger things. We are a national library, so I always host people from Japan and all over the world, to even like students in college libraries come to see me on a personal basis if I can. I always have time for people, but we're such a big library, there is an international team. But in terms of research, there's also, I mentioned the digital scholarship research team. And there's always fellowships being offered. And there's also a higher education department, higher education and science department at the British Library. So you have to, the opportunities might not be there all the time, or I don't know their right timelines, but I know the key people, we work together as one library. So if you want a major contact, obviously see myself or the international team, and also Liz Jolly, the chief librarian. They also have lots of relationship with India. Actually, there were 2 other colleagues from the Asia and Pacific and African APAC collection who were going to come with us this time, but they're actually going to come later in the year. And they're actually going down to Kerala so they could make contacts with other people. So we have a great relationship with India. You just have to know what is it you need and how we can help you. And that's sort of like access to research, but also access to leadership programs or librarianship programs we can find out for you. And also I would like for you to share what DELNET does, and also the Asian community with the British Library staff, because there is such a strong cultural and historical link with the 2 organizations. But one more thing I wanted to say, some of the questions that you were asking about reference work and also school, one of the key things that Liz wanted to relate today as well, but obviously she's not here today. She wanted to mention the fact that, and I also wanted to mention, is literacy, digital literacy. That's still a big part. There's lots of information out there, but we need to be literate in how we engage with that content. Is it fake news? Is it right thing? Is it misinformation? Is it disinformation? Is it malinformation? So that's a big part of our roles as information professionals as well. Literacy, but also digital literacy. And that I think would never go away. We have access to a multitude of information. It's ubiquitous, it's everywhere, but it's being able to take away the best of it and being able to harness that and create something new, and also use it for good and social good. So literacy is really important, and it's a core competency that we have, but we have to enable the people around us to do that as well.
Thank you very much for a very convincing and an exhaustive reply. Thank you very much indeed. And this is to tell to Dr. M.B. Bitappa that you also echo the same sentiment as being expressed, that you're wanting IFLA to contribute towards tribal community development, the libraries which are there. So as Madam has mentioned, that under the public libraries, the rural libraries, and definitely, one can bring in this tribal community development programs, also how libraries can become an enhancer. This is for Dr. Barbara, for you. This is from Dr. J. Siddiqui, the librarian, University librarian at Meerut University, who is wanting to know what is the process of getting signed an MOU between the university library and IFLA. So I think we should be able to tell them that how they can join as a member, the way that we have done it. But definitely, he would love to, hear from you that how they can sign an MOU with IFLA.
We are always, thank you for the question. We are always very happy if someone is interested in joining IFLA. There is also on our website, you can find when you look for membership, you just give in the search for the keyword membership, you get to the right site, and then you can find all the different bands and all the different costs, because you has to pay, of course, to join it, and then you can join online. You can join online, provided that after you have first filled in everything, then the governing board, that is the board of IFLA, is accepting you. So it is not everyone can join without the governing board's acceptance. You have to wait until the governing board has accepted you. At every meeting, we have meetings every second month, and we have new members coming on, and so there is no, in my experience, there has not been any member who has not been accepted.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. You are so generous, and that's being even reflected in accepting all the the requests from the institution. So thank you so very much indeed. I just want to tell to Mr. Siva Panta and also Ramawat Naga Saidu and Mr. Bitappa that your questions have already been answered by our panelists. A role of IFLA for academic librarianship, that has also been highlighted. I think this is for for both for Dr. Debelkar and also for Dr. Nabi Hassan, because there are number of queries asking how they can join the SLA as a SLA member. So perhaps we would be happy to provide you with the details, and then you will be able to. So we are going to let you know how quickly they. But if you can tell them how they can join as an SLA member.
Yeah, that is a website in SLA. You have to fill up the form and submit that fees.
What is the fee?
Fees for India, it's $25 for general and $10 for students. It's very easy. You just have to go membership, SLA member. You will get a form and you can submit it, and it will be. But $25 is for those income is less than 18,000 US dollar per year.
Thank you very much, Debu. So we would like to thank all our online attendees. With this, we are closing our QA session that we had with all our in-person and online attendees. It's the time now for us to place vote of thanks. So I stand before you with a great sense of humility and gratitude to express our very sincere, warm, sincere thanks, and words not adequate enough to express how grateful we have felt, in having our most distinguished global leaders heading the two most prestigious global organizations, IFLA and SLA. It's a proud moment for not only DELNET, but for, yes, indeed, the entire Indian library and information science community to have the most distinguished presence of both of you with us. Thank you so very much for being so gracious, so kind, making this day a very historic day, a day that we are going to cherish, remember forever. And we really look forward to having yet another wonderful opportunity for more time. Just simply having 3 hours, not enough. We always say it requires, your long time, presence here for considerable time. We would really look forward to the time wherein we can think about having a more bigger programs in association with the IFLA and SLA, so that we will get more ample opportunities to have, exploring infinite possibilities. But yes, indeed, it's an historic day as we have made a new beginning, and you have been very, very kind and gracious. We remain ever grateful. On behalf of DELNET, on behalf of each one of us, we would like to present the mementos to our honorable guest, Dr. Barbara Lison, President IFLA, and to Mrs. Seema Ramprasad. May I have a pleasure of requesting the Honorable Chair, Shri K. Jayakumarji, the President DELNET, to kindly do so. From DELNET, presented with great admiration and immense gratitude to Dr. Barbara Lison, President, International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions. All of you, please give a very big applause and keep on having this applause on till the time Madam receives. In requesting the chair, may I request also Dr. Goswami sir to kindly join us, sir, please. We are much grateful to a long-time colleague, a professional colleague who has been of great, immense help, support. No one else other than Dr. Debul Sikar. Thank you so much, Debul. It's always, it's indeed so wonderful, to get your unstinted support to DELNET that you have been extending to us for decades altogether. We don't get ample opportunities to express, but yes, it's an occasion to convey very strongly that your contributions, always. We know that DELNET has been on your mind always, and we remain grateful to you for that. Thank you so much for giving us this wonderful opportunity. Without your support, it would not have been possible for us in organizing and having our distinguished guests with us. So this is a small memento, but it is being given with an immense grateful thanks to you and great admiration for you. Thank you very much. This is something a seal. We don't want to disclose what is there inside. It's a small memento. It's a small memento to our honorable president of DELNET. Without you, sir, you remain the one who is always, with your blessings, with your wishes, with your support, we are able to do what we have been wanting to do, reforming, bringing in a change. Hence, not much of this, lot of attitude for you, sir. Also, I would like to take this opportunity to place on records a very warm, sincere thanks, firstly, to Mrs. Claudia of Dr. Barbara Lison's like to convey our sincere thanks to Mrs. Claudia, and this is Barbara. I request you to kindly convey that to her. The assistant, the PA to Madam Dr. Barbara Lison, who has always been so proud and making it possible for us to get connected with ma'am. Our very special, appreciation and thanks to her for making the thing so easier for us. So thank you very much indeed, Claudia. Thank you indeed. also would like to thank each one of you for making it a very special day for us to join us in person, making this date. Because of your presence, we are able to celebrate it in this such a grand way. And we can never thank you enough for your continuous support and inspiration to DELNET. My also very special thanks to all our online attendees who have been able to join us from different nooks and parts of the country, in many other countries, and you truly, truly inspire us. I would like to acknowledge the support, the wonderful support of my very, very wonderful. I'm in the front end, but there is a strong back end which works. No front end can ever work, without having a strong back end. We are truly blessed at DELNET to have a very highly dedicated team members, and I would like to acknowledge the support of each one of them, including Mr. Kushal Goswami, Mr. Deepak Yadav, Dinesh, Archana, Ranjana, Kali, Neetu, Manendra Singh, Dinesh, Roshan, and many other dedicated colleagues here at Delhi office and also in our coordination units at Bangalore, Pune, and Hyderabad, who have been working tirelessly for this program. My very special appreciation and also, lot much of thanks to each one of you for making it happen. And yes, indeed, you're the ones who typically demonstrate so how a library network team should work. It's not only we specializes in networking of libraries, we specializes in networking our deeds together, our efforts together, and you set in a brilliant example. Thank you so very much indeed. We also remain indebted to all the forces, visible, invisible, who have really made it possible for us to organize this program in such a way. We remain much grateful to all of them. Naming each and every individual may not be feasible. And yes, the forces which are not only visible, but they are also the invisible who have really contributed immensely for the successful execution of this program. So with this, we really look forward to having yet another opportunity to celebrate the global librarianship. Let's celebrate each moment that we engage ourselves in the libraries, serving to the society, serving humanity. Let's take it as a pledge to take it, to a level wherein every individual, everyone, whosoever path you cross, whether in libraries or outside, it remains truly, a meaningful and an everlasting impression that the librarian should continue to make in the lives of the society. With this, we close today's program being organized by DELNET in collaboration with Galgotia University, celebrating global librarianship, strengthening connections, collaborations, and competencies. And yes, let's strengthen, our associations together and make a difference, bring in that change that we always desire to see around. Thank you so very much. Stay connected, stay happy, and do stay networked. Thank you very much. It has been a proud honor and privilege to be there with you, each one of you, and thank you so much. I would like to request you, I know that it's a sunny, bright day. It's a 2 o'clock right now. Temperature may be hovering around 40 degrees right now, the Delhi temperature. But yes, let's keep the temperatures down with your bright smile all around, because we want to get you clicked forever in a group photograph. Well, before we head for lunch, we don't want cropping, pick up the photograph and putting ourselves. We really want to see to it. We do, something which is we are going to cherish forever. So ma'am, do give us those everlasting remembrances as we all are getting clicked now in a group photograph, and take our words. This is going to be available on the DELNET's website, and we'll be happy to send it. May I have a pleasure of requesting both you and also weeks, to join us. Please join us for a group photograph, and then we are going to have the lunch together, a networking lunch. Thank you very much. God bless each one of you. Thank you. Also to thank all our online attendees. With this, we close our today's session. Thank you very much.